What is happening, Maine Mariners Nation? This is the Maine Hockey Report, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. I'm your host, Benjamin Kennedy. Thank you so much for checking us out today. We've got a whole bunch of things to talk about today around the Maine Mariners, a bunch of trades, some movement from Providence, and of course, the team heading out to Reading, Pennsylvania for 3-3 this weekend. Before we dive in, a big thank you to Maine Mariners owner Dexter Payne for joining me on the podcast last time as we talked about the strike and everything that went on there. And let's just be thankful that we're back, that we're not going to miss any games, that those games will be made up at a later time. So without any further ado, some news of the day and of the days, let's say, starting with the all-star nod for forward Brooklyn Kalmakoff. So congratulations to Kalmakoff, second year in a row going to the all-star game. That'll be out in Allen, Texas. Good on him. You know, we've been kind of talking about him a little bit on the broadcast where been in a little bit of a scoring slump. He's the kind of guy that really should be able to get out of these slumps quicker than he has. But we got the 3 coming up in Reading. We'll see what happens. I'd say the last couple of games started generating more shots, and you could see more energy out of him. But overall, he's still, most likely the very best scorer on this team, and certainly our all-star now for a second year in a row. So congrats once again there to Brooklyn Kalmakoff. Couple of trades to talk about, guys. Couple of trades. One that really did not surprise me. And listen, when you're mired in the slump that the Mariners had been, they did win the last time out, but having lost 6 in a row before that, you expect some change. You expect some movement. And this was one that did not surprise me. Forward Lyndon McCollum traded to Fort Wayne, a place he's played before, for forward Zach Jordan, 29-year-old. 6'3", 216-pound forward. This is really the case of, I think, both players needing a change of scenery, a fresh start. Lyndon this year through 27 games, 7 goals, 3 assists for 10 points. And for Jordan, 19 games out there in Fort Wayne, 3-3 and 6 for him. So Jordan does have some AHL experience, 84 games total with 12 points, but over almost 200 games, 193 at the ECHL level, 59 goals, 46 assists, and 105 points in his career. A little bit more of a physical player, just a little bit taller, a little bit bigger than Lyndon. And, we gave Coach Wallen all sorts of credit last year when the McCollum Patty Gay trade happened, how good McCollum fit in here. And man, it just wasn't happening this year. He just looked out of sorts. Even over the weekend, he did get on the scoring sheet, but a couple times, especially that Saturday game where you could see the frustration building for him. So I think a positive change, a place he's played before. And for Jordan, just maybe a better fit for Kowalski's system. Like I said, bigger player, maybe plays a little more physical style. You hope that this will fit better. And yeah, I think for both kind of having a struggle sort of a season. So good way to change it up. I'll be curious to see how Coach fits him into the lineup, what kind of line combinations is he going to work with. Should be interesting to watch. And then to follow that up yesterday, another trade, this time with Kalamazoo forward Antonio Venuto, I think is how you pronounce that, coming over. This is to complete a previous future considerations trade. I'm sorry. But Venuto, 6'3", 204-pound, 25-year-old player. 22 games for him this year, 5 goals, 9 assists for 14 points. Was a 4-year player at Ferris State. He was former teammates there with Dilstra, so Mitch getting one of his old teammates, and did also play 1 year at Merrimack as well. So a couple new forwards adding to the group, a little bit more size, a little bit more physicality, which is, I think, right up the sleeve of how Coach wants to play. A couple of the moves, though, to talk about. Caden Villegas, forward, being released from the team. 21 games for him this year, 1 goal, 5 assists for 6 points. Last played on January 2nd. And, Mike and I kind of talked about this. Him and DePaulo in particular kind of fallen out of the lineup a little bit, some healthy scratches there. So, no surprise that, again, Coach looking to make some moves and try to upgrade the room a little bit. We'll see if Villegas picks up someplace else around the league. And just this afternoon, one more transaction to talk about: the Providence Bruins assigning defenseman Max Wanner to the club. 6'3", 202-pound defenseman, 22 years old, former seventh round draft pick of the Edmonton Oilers. He was part of the Trent Frederick trade from a year ago. Only gotten into 7 games, been dealing with some injuries there in Providence. No points yet on the season, but he has played a total between Bakersfield and Providence, 112 AHL games, 22 points. That's part of 4 seasons. So you beef up the forward group, get a nice big defenseman to head out there to Reading. Should be a lot of fun to see how coach, again, fits all these guys in. And again, you should expect that with a 6 game losing streak kind of built in there, that you were going to see some changes here to the club. No surprises there at all. Well, let's go back, guys. Let's look at those last 3 games: 2 against Adirondack, 1 against Trois Rivières. We're going to go all the way back to January 2nd. Seems like forever ago. But Adirondack getting this one 4-1 over the Maine Mariners. Shots on goal, 29-28 for Adirondack. That was 13-7 for Maine in the first. The exact opposite, 13-7 for Adirondack in the second, and 9-8 Adirondack there for shots in the third period. Power play, Adirondack was 2 for 3. Maine 1 for 7 in this one. Really kind of a part of the story of this one here. And it was a defenseman for Maine that got on the board first to open the scoring in that first period. Nick Anderson with his first goal of the season. That was the only goal there for the club. Calderon in that for this one, 25 saves on 29 shots. Tough one, yeah. Power play really struggling in this one. Plenty of opportunities, but that second period where Adirondack really poured it on with the 3 goals was a big part of the story. And you could just see, I don't want to call it lack of effort. I never want to say lack of effort, but just a lack of energy and a lack of kind of cohesiveness with the club on that January 2nd game. Moving to Saturday night, January 3rd, Adirondack and Maine once again. Again, this time Adirondack with a 4-2 winner here for Adirondack there. Maine, though, getting the better of the shots on this one, 38-30. It was 14-11 in the first period, 13-11 for Adirondack in the second, and then 13-6 for Maine in the third period. Not a lot of power plays in this one, 0 for 2 for both clubs. Goal scores here's Ballou for Maine in the second period. That was from Perot and Hudson. And then Cronin getting that late goal to bring it back to a 1-goal game. They're real late. That was from Thompson and Perot as well. Arvanitis in net for this one. Only came up to 2 goals, 26 saves on 28 shots, and quite a bit of tough luck here in this one for Mr. Arvanitis. Brennan getting the win for Adirondack. Great goaltending there out there for this Adirondack club, as we know all too well here in Maine. And then Sunday, finally breaking the 6-game losing streak, Maine taking it to a shorthanded Trois Rivières team, 6-2, taking out some frustration, I would say, in this 6-2 Sunday matinee. Shots on goal, 31-24 for Maine, 13-8 in the first, 12-6 in the second, and then 10-6 for Trois there in the third period. Trois was 0 for 4 on the power play. Maine 1 for 3. Goal scorers in this one, Gorman in the first period from Maroney and Dealstra. And it was Hemstrom with a beautiful move at the end of that first period. 2 goals in the first period for the first time in a long time. Cronin and Perot with the helpers there. Bellamy from Dealstra and Gorman in the second. Then Nielsen on the power play, getting his third of the year from Cronin and McCallum. And it was Xander Lampa with just a wicked wrister from McCallum and Nielsen in the second period as well. Maine in the third. It was Robert Cronin with his 7th of the season from Perot, and Kalmakov finally getting on the board there. Kavlin wasn't asked to do a ton in this game, but looked good, 22 saves on 24 shots. But in the history of the Maine Mariners, in their 7 seasons here, they've never had a 7-game losing streak. Winning this game makes sure that continues to be the case. No 7-game losing streaks, but a very important 2 points for the club. And now a word from DraftKings, the jaw-dropping moments that make hockey, hockey. Experience them all with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, pass-through of per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights reserved. And when we look kind of back at, especially, we'll take a dive into Saturday and Sunday, because leading up to that, the team just really wasn't looking very good. Not a lot of energy, not a lot of cohesiveness. But Saturday, despite the loss, I do think you saw a better response, right? I think you saw a little bit more net front. You saw a little bit more checking. Coach in his pregame talked about we need more 5-on-5 chances. We need more secondary chances. We need more net front. You started to see that, not enough of it on Saturday, but a little bit more of it. And this was really a game where Harvey deserves so much better. Listen, both goalies only gave up 2 goals. One takes the loss, the other one takes the win. Obviously, the 2 empty netters there on Saturday for Adirondack really the difference. But a big thing that came out of this weekend in both games was a fourth line, an identity line, let's say, for these Mariners. Coach did this on Saturday for the first time, putting Maroney, Gorman, and Dielstra together. And man, it looked great. And they earned a lot of ice time over those 2 games. They were perhaps the most effective, productive line all weekend for the Mariners. And they produced, hold on a second. I know Gorman got the 1 goal there. Both Maroney and Dielstra were on that one. I think, Dielstra had another assist in there. Gorman had another assist. So there was a lot of good goal scoring. Guys being rewarded for really good play. But Ford checked hard, skated really hard. Did not look like a fourth line whatsoever, but something I have no doubt you're going to see more of. Again, some new players coming in, but I think that coach has found something there with that combination. And then something we talked about on Saturday was scoring from the blue line. Baloo had one, Anderson had one earlier. You're getting some good production there from the blue line. Some guys, not being afraid to shoot the puck. And again, when your big guys have been struggling, as Maine has, good to see that kind of production coming from the blue line. So yes, you lose the game, but I did think you saw a little bit more jump. I think you saw a little bit better 5-on-5 play. I think you saw a little bit more forecheck and things like that. Not enough of it. Again, not enough. A little bit of bad luck. But I do think it was a foundational piece to build on when we came to Sunday. Now, when we go to that Trois Riviere game, we know that Trois was down some of their bigger guys. They were only playing 17 were dressed, and one of those 11 forwards was actually defenseman. So a lot like Maine with Maroney playing up on the forward group. Trois was in that same boat. A Trois team that had to travel at the end of their road trip. So at the end of a 4-on-5, I should say, traveling from home after playing Saturday, this was a very winnable game. Almost one of those kind of games where Maine didn't have an excuse to lose this one. And thankfully, they gave you really their best 60-minute effort in quite some time. Much better jump out of the gate, much better energy. And I would say they maintained that energy all throughout the game. Again, I would say built off of some of that Saturday play. But some things to take away for this one, the Hemstrom goal, one of the most pretty goals I've seen in quite some time. Just a great individual effort, a little kind of backhand, forehand move as he went down and got that one. Just a thing of beauty. And 2 goals in the first period. We kind of laugh about this, but Maine has played so many 0-0 first periods or 1-1 first periods. Very rarely are you scoring multiple goals or having a lead going into the second period. So it was nice to see Maine maintain a lead as you went to that locker room. And then again, more scoring from the blue line here. Bellamy with his goal. What a great play off the transition, filling the lane. I thought that was just a thing of beauty, just a heads-up play by him. He didn't sit back. He drove the line and drove that lane and was rewarded for it. It was pretty noticeable throughout the game. Nielsen's power play, again, the power play had been a real struggle too, so nice to see him getting that power play goal. Again, kind of rewarded for good physical play. He was kind of in the middle of most of the scrums throughout the day. I think he took a stick that wasn't called kind of up high before that. So puck was bounced around, just kind of ends up on his on his stick, beats the goaltender too, was able to pop it in. But kind of one of those net front dirty goals that you need to have, and something that you hadn't seen a lot of from this Maine Mariners team. So really, really good to see guys like that getting involved when your Kalmakovs and your McCollums and your Andreevs aren't scoring. It's guys like this you need to step up, and you saw that on Sunday. And no surprise, that fourth line was right back out there with Marooney, Gorman, and Dielstra, and they continue to look good, continue to earn ice time, and again, maybe one of the most effective lines of the weekend. So once again, I think that's something we're going to see moving forward. Kalmakov does finally get a point, does get a helper in this one. It had been 10 games, I believe, for him since he'd had a point. Of course, McCollum, now that he's out the door, though, did have 2 assists in that one, starting to look a little bit better. But yeah, the play on Sunday, I just thought the neutral zone, their decision-making through the neutral zone was really effective. Their passing was really effective. When you can pass effectively through the neutral zone, that just creates team speed. Entering the O zone, which you saw a lot of there Sunday afternoon, and a lot more forechecking in this one. They were much more physical. I think they were just a little bit angry, a little bit pissed off, and kind of what you want to see more of on Saturday, but you definitely saw it on Sunday. Took advantage of a shorthanded Troyes team that you just, again, you needed those 2 points. You needed them more than they did, and you played that way, and it was really, really good to see that. So just looking at the standings right now in the North Division, Wheeling sitting in first place, 22-7-1 with 45 points. Adirondack right behind them. And let's be honest, guys, some of the moves that we just made this week, I think, is with Adirondack in mind, how heavy they've been against Maine, how hard they've been for the Mariners to match up with. I think some of these moves are kind of a direct correlation of what we saw over the weekend and what we've kind of seen all season when we played the Thunder. But they're sitting in second place, 17-8-3-1 for 38 points. The readingroyals, our next opponent, 16-12-3 for 35 points. Troyes and Maine tied for fourth right now. Troyes 13-11-3 for 29 points. Maine 12-10-5 with 29 points. Worcester Railers sitting right behind them in 28 with 28 points. 13-13-2. Norfolk 9-19-2 with 20 points, and Greensboro 7-16-6 for 20 points, having kind of a rough first year here in the league. So with that said, the readingroyals, 3 games now coming up Friday, Saturday, Sunday there from Reading, Pennsylvania. That'll be a 7 p.m. puck drop on Friday and Saturday nights, and a 3 p.m. matinee Sunday afternoon. Important games, a team that's sitting right in front of you with those 35 points. So a chance to get 6 on them and get kind of basically get yourself tied with them in the standings if you can pull out 3 out of 3. Taking a quick look at Reading, though, their power play right now, 14.9%. So not very effective so far, 84% on the PK. They are 6-3-1 over their past 10, but their goal differential right now, -3. So despite the winning record, they do have a -3 in the goal differential. Some of the players here, some of these are very familiar names. Carson Golder leading the team, 12 goals, 13 assists for 25 points. Brandon Sagan, 8 goals, 10 assists for 18 points. Ben Meehan, 4 goals, 15 assists for 19 points. And old friend Jake Willits here in Reading, 2 goals, 6 assists for 8 points. He played, of course, 16 games with the Mariners last season. In net, Keith Petrozelli, really their main goaltender, primary goaltender. I think they've had 4 goaltenders this year throughout the season, but a 2.43 goals against and a .915 save percentage. 6 wins out of 16 games played. So you're going to have another good goalie test this weekend. Had a lot of those lately for sure. 2 previous games that Reading and Maine had played. Of course, Maine losing on the 19th. That was early in the season, losing 4-0. Getting Reading back 5-1 win against them on November 2nd. So we'll see what we see this weekend. I think a very important, critical time of the year. You're in January. You're nearing the halfway point, but you have an opportunity to kind of catch up to more of the middle of the pack. You're kind of right there in the middle of it, and as we talked about on the broadcast on Sunday, I believe, have such a great start like Maine did, it has given them the ability to have a few losses in the next year, not fall too far behind. You just can't keep that happening, right? Okay, you lost 6 in a row. You had a good win on Sunday. Can we build on that? Can we take 2 out of 3 here? Can we get a 4 point out of 6 point weekend down there in Pennsylvania? Let's hope so. Well, of course, we do have the Boston Bruins returning home tonight to play Calgary after what you can only call one of the most lackluster games of the season there in Seattle. A game I actually shut off with about 10 minutes to go. It was late, but you could just see how just awful they were playing. So we'll see if we get a bounce back from the Bruins tonight. They're certainly in a very critical situation right now where, yes, everything's still tight, in that division, but you got a lot of teams in front of you and a lot of teams playing a lot better than you. A lot of great podcasters out there talking Bruins. I'm not going to do a deep dive into them right now, but go check out some of those podcasters. You get guys like the Bruins Diehards podcast out there. You've got low quality Bruins fans, always very entertaining, along with all the guys, Joe Haggerty, Evan Marinofsky, Connor Ryan, Ty Anderson, all those guys out there doing some great work. So go check all those boys out. And of course, the UMaine Black Bears with a wonderful weekend out in Denver, a win and a tie. I believe they moved up 3 spots in the rankings. I do believe they're 12th now. So they were, a little bit of the struggle bus, but 2 big games out there. Really showed out well against just a real perennial powerhouse out there in Denver. So good on the boys. We'll see what we see out of them here moving forward. See if they can get themselves back into the top 10 as we are getting close to playoff time there for NCAA hockey. Well, that's what we have for you guys today. Thank you, as always, for watching and listening. If you are new to the channel, thank you so much for checking us out. Please hit like and subscribe on your way out. And if you have been around the channel for a long time, thank you for your continued support. Absolutely appreciate it. Until next time, everybody, be kind, show love, and God bless.